Hey, horror fans. Once again, it is me, the horror miser, Money G. It's time to review the latest body horror film. This one stars Demi Moore. It is called The Substance. Yes.
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans. Once again, it is me, the horror miser, Money G. Now, The Substance is a 2024 American satirical body horror film. It was written and directed by Coralie Fargale. I believe I'm pronouncing that name right. Or wrong. Now, the film stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. Now, in this film, a fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. Uh-oh. I see bad things happening upon the horizon. Now, horror fans, when it comes to horror films, particularly old school horror films, some of the films that I grew up watching when I was little, there's one unique film that had a unique premise, and that is the 1931 horror film Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The film was based on the 1886 novel The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Scottish novelist Robert Louis Stevenson. The film depicts the respected London Dr. Jekyll, Henry Jekyll, who creates and takes a potion which transforms him into the vicious homicidal maniac known as Edward Hyde. Now, the film shows that while Dr. Jekyll is a nice, honest man, there lies beneath him a violent, immoral, evil persona with him, hence Mr. Hyde. Basically, the film shows that despite the fact that Dr. Jekyll is a nice, honest man, there believes him is another person, a evil person, a moral person, which is the direct opposite of Dr. Jekyll. And that's what this film represents. And the novel represents the duality of man. Now, throughout the years, there have been plenty of horror films that use the same name and premise of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, there is also a comedic version of the film, the 1963 film called The Nutty Professor, which starred the late comedian Jerry Lewis, which was later remade in 1996 in a movie of the same name that starred comedian Eddie Murphy. Now, this brings us to French writer-director Coralie Fargale's version of this premise of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a satirical body horror film called The Substance. Now we're introduced to Elizabeth Sparkle, an Academy Award-winning actress and host of a long-running aerobic show called Sparkle Your Life with Liz. On her 50th birthday, she's fired from her show by her producer Harvey, who tells us that she is too old and needing someone younger, prettier, and sexier to portray this aerobics instructor. Now, while recovering from a car accident, she is given a flash drive by a nurse that has the name The Substance on it, along with a contact number. Now, the flash drive contains a video where it tells her that the substance is a serum that can create a younger, perfect, and beautiful version of herself. Now, reluctant at first, Elizabeth takes the serum and out comes a younger version of herself who calls herself Sue. You notice I put Sue in quotation marks. Now, Sue becomes popular very quickly, getting a new show with Harvey called Pump Up. I think it's called Pump Up the Volume. I think it's what it's called. Having sex with attractive men. But we all know that there'll be a price to pay, which will lead to deadly consequences for both Sue and Elizabeth because they are still one, as we see throughout the whole film. Now, you must give credit for Carlisle for coming up with a very interesting premise for a film like this one. Like I said before, it kind of plays into the aspects of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but in a different way. Mainly because we all know how terrible it can be for women in the entertainment business and in Hollywood who have been constantly harassed, criticized, and mocked about their weight, their looks, and their talent. You know, it's either you're too short, you're too big, your boobs are too small, or your boobs are too big, or you're too tall, or if your butt is too big, or your butt is too small. And of course, the favorite line of all, you're too old. I mean, it's no wonder that women, and let's not forget men do it too, not going to leave you men out, will do anything and try anything to maintain their beauty or to stay young in order to remain relevant in Hollywood. Now, for this film, Caroline is using an exaggerated example of what Elizabeth will do in order to maintain the status as a beautiful, sexy, and attractive woman in the entertainment and the Hollywood, as Sue is a younger, prettier, and perfect version of herself. I mean, that's what this film is. Elizabeth still wants to be relevant in Hollywood in the entertainment business, so she decides to go to this extreme way to create a younger, prettier version of herself in order to maintain her relevancy. Now, of course, there are rules that Elizabeth and Sue must follow in order to maintain this facade, and unfortunately, we all know that those rules will be broken, as we've seen in certain films like this one. Now, when those rules are broken, they have disastrous effects, and I do mean disastrous. Hence, the body horror comes into play, and Caroline pulls no punches when it comes to the body horror. There's so much body horror, it will make David Cronenberg envious if he ever watches this film. Because I understand she was definitely inspired by David Cronenberg, so I'm not surprised the body horror that comes into play in this particular film. Now, Caroline, who gave us the 2017 rape revenge film Revenge, chose an interesting array of how she films the movie. Using very wide, long shots with bright colors. There's a scene in the beginning of the film when Elizabeth is done with her taping of her latest show, as her last show, really, where we get to see her walk down this long hallway, and we have all her posters up in the whatchamacallit. It's all bright with colors, like they were like this back in the '80s. Now I don't know when this film is taking place, but it's all giving like a '80s reference with all the bright colors that we remember from in the '80s. Now, what she also does, we also have very in close shots of all the actors. There's one particular scene where we get this nasty looking scene with Dennis Quaid eating a bunch of seafood, and he's just smacking and grumping. It's real nasty and disgusting. I guess it's supposed to be a some of an image of how nasty and disgusting men like Harvey were, an exaggerated excuse for this because he's being nasty and disgusting when he's eating, and he's being nasty and disgusting to Elizabeth when he tells her that she's being fired because she's too old. And we get plenty of close up shots of both Elizabeth and Sue as well, whether it's their face, their breasts, and especially their behinds or their asses, because it kind of plays into Caroline's exaggeration on the differences between the two women. I mean, you can see the different contrasts between the women. You can see that maybe the reason why Elizabeth wants to be young again because she feels as though she no longer has the attraction. She doesn't have the type of body that she thinks men will be attracted to. And then we see Sue, and she's hot. Plain and simple. Now, Demi Moore is excellent as Elizabeth. She does a very good job in this particular film. She plays Elizabeth as a woman who is desperate to maintain her status as an entertainer in Hollywood and is willing to do anything despite the risks that are involved. And it's unfortunate because I really did like Elizabeth. I thought she was a very interesting character, but she's just so full of insecurity and self doubt and lacks any self confidence because I still believe she's still an attractive woman, despite the fact she's 50 years old. Now, there is a scene that takes place during the second act of the film where Elizabeth decides to go on a date, but because of her insecurities and self doubt, she decides to make bad choices because for some odd reason she cannot help the fact or cannot escape the lure of being relevant in Hollywood. Now, Margaret Qualley does a great job in playing Sue, the younger, sexy, and perfect version of Elizabeth, who she becomes selfish, vindictive, becomes obsessed with fame, making the audience believe that these qualities that we see in Sue also had to be in Elizabeth when she was Sue's age, because again, they are one of the same. So obviously, she had those qualities when she was younger, but we don't see that. But obviously, when Sue does the thing that she does, there got to be, well, this must have been some of the things that she did. Now, I was cracking up and laughing at Dennis Quaid's performance of Sarby. Like I said before, it's an exaggeration of a male producer who's only interested in Sue's looks. There is a scene that takes place in the third act where we get to see Harvey coming up to Sue doing this big extravaganza that they had planned for her, and all them older, creepy looking men are looking at her like they would like to have sex with her. That's the only reason why they're doing this for her. Again, it's all an exaggeration about what the male species thinks about a woman like Sue. Now, I love what happens to Elizabeth and Sue in the third act of the film because it's really the only time that Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley has any interaction between the two. Because most of the time we only see Elizabeth at one point of the stage, and then we see Margaret in another part in the save, and she really ups the body horror in this particular scene because we get lots of blood and lots of gore that'll satisfy gorehounds. So you gorehounds want to see some gore and some blood, you're going to love this movie. I mean, overall, I really did enjoy this film because Caroline gives us an exaggerated film that shows on what a woman will do to maintain her status in Hollywood or in any form of entertainment. It's just an exaggerated way, but she does a very nice, nice, very well written, very well paced, very well filmed. I thought Caroline did a fantastic job in this film. Plus, we get great performances between Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. Some excellent practical effects with plenty of blood and gore. For most horror fans, they will enjoy this one. And like I said, really did enjoy this film. So I'm going to give The Substance 4 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. Like I said before, a very interesting film, an exaggerated tale about what a woman will do in order to maintain her status in Hollywood with disastrous effects. I really thought a fantastic job in this particular film. I think you guys really enjoyed it. Definitely will be in my top 10 horror films of the year. So, horror fans, that is my video and review of The Substance. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, like, and share. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Have you seen The Substance? What do you thought about it? Please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll tell you what you thought about the film. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. That way, we notify anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember that horror rules. And I see you in my next video. You guys stay safe out there.